Let's say you live in Maharashtra and have an income of 10 lakhs and above, then you're in the top 5% of the state. But even then, it will take you 109 years of savings to buy a flat in Mumbai. Forget Mumbai. If you're watching this from Haryana and you fall in the richest 5% of Haryana, it will take you 64 years of savings to buy a flat in Gurgaon. Only if you save at 30%, which too is very unrealistic given the falling household savings rate. If we try to save and invest, there's a tax on my capital gains. We are also paying for taxes for services that are still under construction, for an air quality that keeps getting worse, for food that barely passes the national safety standards, for roads that are bad, for infrastructure that either doesn't work or is always under construction. A third of our salary already goes into EMIs. It is true that the Indian middle class is trapped in this vicious cycle of low savings, high EMIs, increasing cost of living, and sheer consumerism. We buy things that we don't need with money that we don't have to impress people we don't like. A line from Fight Club movie. So, who is this middle class? How much of our income is actually growing? Are we able to beat inflation? Or is our income actually growing? Or are we just stagnated in this vicious cycle of EMIs and low savings and, living paycheck to paycheck? Welcome back to Angel One Economics. My name is Utsari and today we will decode why is the Indian middle class always suffering. We will discuss 4 things. Who is this middle class? How much is the middle class growing? At what cost do we afford the basics of roti, kapra, makan? And finally, the tax burden that falls on this middle class. So let's get started. Who is this actual middle class? Sadly, there is no official or clear definition of the Indian middle class. Our data is so skewed, and the fact that 90% of our workforce work in the informal sector makes it very difficult for all these numbers to be accounted formally. But let me give you a rough idea from the National Survey Organization and the World Inequality Lab. The population of India is 147 crores. Among them, 92 crore adults are aged 20 and above, earning an average annual income of rupees 3 lakhs, which translates to less than 25,000 a month. So according to reports, if you are earning more than 25,000 a month, you earn more than 90% of Indians. The median annual income is 1 lakh rupees, meaning anyone earning more than 8,750 rupees per month earns more than the bottom 50% of the workforce. Can you imagine that? For this bottom half, the average annual income is about 71,000 or less than 6,000 per month. Whereas the middle 40% of the population have an average annual income of 1.6 lakh rupees, which is 13,000 rupees per month. So in short, if you earn more than 1.6 lakh rupees annually, you are in the middle 40%. If you have to be in the top 10% of Indians, you have to earn more than 13.5 lakh rupees annually. But here's the shocking truth. Only 7.5 crore Indians file for income tax returns. Among them, only 2.24 crore Indians actually pay the income tax, while the remaining 5.16 crore people have no tax incidence, meaning that they owe no taxes to the government after deductions. All in all, it means that 1.6% of the Indian population actually pays income tax. Now let's understand if our income is actually growing in real terms. Is your salary at pace with the cost of living? Let's just look at the white-collar jobs. If companies in India are going to use AI and automation to reduce their workforce and drive efficiency gains, it is in the country's largest companies where this effect will show up first. Hence, this report by Marcellus Investments took the Nifty 50 companies and their number of employees, average wages, and adjusted it with the CPI inflation, which is at 5%. And it turns out that in the last 8 years, from 2016 to 2024, the wages are not at pace with the cost of living. Hence, if someone was just relying on their salary increments in the last 8 years, forget earning more and saving for the future. Their salaries were not able to keep up even with the price of food. And this is just the top 50 companies in India. It is just a scratch on the surface. If you take broadly, over the last decade, India's average per capita income has grown at the rate of 9.5% per year. Since inflation has averaged at a rate of 5% over the same period, this indicates that the per capita income grew at 4.6% per year in real terms. Hence, Is the middle income class actually growing? Now let's understand how much of basic amenities can the middle income class afford. The Bloom Venture report for 2025 divides India into three distinct economic realities. India 1 comprises of 5 to 7 crore people in the top metros, English-speaking, digitally savvy, with significant disposable income. India 2 includes 30 to 40 crore people in Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, bilingual, moderate income, and aspiring to join India 1. India 3 represents more than 80 crore Indians in rural areas and smaller towns, vernacular speaking, limited disposable income, struggling for basics. What's striking is that even India 1, the supposed winners of economic growth, right, are finding middle class life unaffordable. Let's start with the basics, right? Housing. Forget the middle class. Even the top earners cannot afford buying a house in their lifetime in most of the cities. And even if you do end up buying a house, you're not just committing to a home loan, you're signing up for a lifetime of cutting corners, skipping vacations, or sacrificing 10 other things. Home ownership is going down in major cities. Property prices are going up higher than inflation, higher than your increment. Look at this data. If you're in the top 5% of Karnataka, it will take you 36 years to buy a house in Bangalore, given that you save at 30% of your income every month. In the last 2 years, the number of affordable homes or homes which are less than 1 crore, right, has gone down by 36%. Meanwhile, luxury housing, which is more than 1 crore, is booming with an increase of supply up to 200% in major cities like Bangalore, NCR, Chennai. So, who is making affordable homes? And buying a home or planning retirement may dominate most of our financial plans, but there's one goal silently becoming more expensive, which is a child's education. Education, especially in urban India, has transformed from a basic necessity into a high-cost long-term investment. The per capita expenditure on education has rose from 1,500 rupees in 2012 to 6,100 rupees in 2026. That is an increase of more than 4 times in 12 years. So, school education is as expensive as an MBA right now. In cities like Pune, Hyderabad, Mumbai, 15 years of schooling can cost more than 15 lakhs, especially in international boards or IB boards. The fee of nursery grade in Delhi's DPS has gone from 90,000 in 2020 to 1.7 lakhs in 2025. That's just nursery grade, guys. So for an Indian middle class, high property prices, rents, home loans, EMIs, and now good education, all of it is just increasing the household budget. Topping all of this is the healthcare. Public healthcare is, well, we all know how efficient it is. But being in the middle class, even if you aspire to get in private healthcare, here is a reality check. The cost of treatment for common ailments that require hospitalization has more than doubled in the last 5 years. If the inflation runs at 5%, and let's just say that your real income growth is at pace with the inflation at 5%, even then, how can the medical expenses be growing at 12% every year? And insurance premiums, they have risen by 43% in the last 4 years. Guys, where should the middle class fit its small dreams if the costs of living keeps increasing like this? These are not even luxury services. These are just the basic amenities that a middle class salaried person has to go so long for. And to top all of this comes the tax burden. Remember those 2.24 crore Indians who actually pay income tax? Yeah. Turns out that the collection of income tax was more than that of the corporate tax in 2025. So the taxpayers in India are paying more than the corporates in this nation. Yes. Let that sink in. While the middle class carries a disproportionate burden, it represents just 1.6% of the population, while contributing 27% of India's total tax revenue. Meanwhile, the wealthy use sophisticated tax planning to minimize their tax burden, and the informal economy operates largely outside the tax net anyways, so they do not pay the tax. The salaried middle class faces tax deducted at source, taxes withheld before they even see their salary, can't claim questionable deductions, can't shift profits to subsidiary companies. Every rupee earned is visible, taxable, and collected. Now comes the elephant in the room, the EMIs, the dropping savings rate, the rising borrowing rate. India's net household financial savings have collapsed to levels not even seen in the last 5 decades. In 2023, the net household financial savings fell to just 5.3% of GDP, down from 7.3% in 2022. To put this in historical context, this is the lowest since 1976. Here's what's making it particularly alarming. Gross household savings haven't collapsed. They're still around 10 to 11% of GDP. The crisis is in the net savings. Household liabilities have exploded. Annual household borrowing has hit 5.8% of GDP in 2023, which is the second highest level after 1970s. Indians are borrowing at a rate that erases more than half of what they have actually saved. The data on younger borrowers is particularly stark. 41% of first-time borrowers in 2024 were just Gen Zs. But here's what they're borrowing for. 39% of the Gen Zs who borrowed in 2024 borrowed not for assets or investments, but for basic expenses like rent, groceries, daily needs. Another 25% borrowed for lifestyle and travel. The buy now pay later services, which is the BNPL services, right, have exploded in India like anything. Lazy Pay, Simple, Zest Money, Amazon Pay Later, Credit Bee, all these platforms offer instant credit with zero documentation. It feels painless. Click a button, get your product, pay later in installments. But the debt accumulates. 70% of iPhone sales in India happened via EMIs. Think about that. The ultimate aspirational product, and 7 out of 10 buyers just can't afford it. They just can't pay up front. They need installments. Now, loan defaults on small amounts less than 10,000 increased by 44% in 2024. Multiple families now spend more than 40% of their monthly income servicing debt. EMIs for homes, cars, personal loans, credit cards, BNPL purchases, all of it. 33% of the monthly salaries go into EMI payments, and that has become common for middle-class families now. The Indian middle class now faces an impossible equation. Their income is growing at a rate lower than the inflation. Housing cost requires 50 to 109 years of savings. Education costs consume 25% to 40% of income per child. Healthcare is just one illness away from catastrophe. Taxes take away most of the share, and whatever is left gets devoured by EMIs. The math doesn't work. What we are currently witnessing is not just an economic slowdown, it's the systematic dismantling of the middle class dream in India. The affordability crisis is real. A generation of educated, hardworking Indians is discovering that no matter how much they save, home ownership, quality education for their children, and financial security remain mathematical impossibilities. The inequality is real. While 2.24 crore people carry the tax burden, the top 1% accumulates wealth at rates that are off the roof. And the debt trap is actually real. Families are borrowing not to get ahead, but to stand still. They are taking loans not for luxuries, but for necessities. The social contract that said hard work, education, and discipline would lead to prosperity has been torn up. So what's the cover? What is it that stays in our control, and how can we break the loop? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like, share and subscribe to our channel, and let us know in the comments below which topic you would like a decode of. See you in the next one.
Investments in securities market are subject to market risks. Read all the related documents carefully before investing.